Now to a business-related story. The governor of Nigeria's Apex Bank, Olayemi Cardoso, says over $98 billion was spent on medical tourism, education and personal travels within the last 10 years, resulting in a stronger value for the dollar. Cardoso made this known as he appeared before members of the House of Representatives to give details on the worrisome decline of Nigeria's naira compared to the US dollar. Idong Joseph reports.
The governor of Nigeria's central bank and the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service joined the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Budget and National Planning to brief lawmakers on measures being taken to address the rising inflation in the country and the high cost of living being witnessed by citizens. While giving reasons for the volatile exchange rate currently being witnessed, the Apex Bank chief expressed worry over the surge in the demand for the dollar in the last 10 years, saying that between 2010 and 2020, over $28 billion was expended for foreign education, $11 billion on medical tourism, and over $58 billion on personal travel allowance, amongst others.
Between spending on medical and education in overseas countries, the amount spent, which was estimated at about $40 billion US, was equivalent to our reserves. And that's shocking, to be quite honest. That is very shocking. And I think these are things that we all need to just take a look and think about how we can benefit and strengthen the naira from having more local production and using the local alternatives that we may have. So that is a wake-up call, as far as I can see. It's a wake-up call.
He says that the substantial demand for these and other similar services abroad will continue to put the exchange rates under pressure, calling for an attitudinal change to start patronizing made-in-Nigeria goods and services. Other officials present said that there are measures already being put in place to help resolve the challenges facing citizens.
There are compensatory mechanisms. One of it is to support domestic production, particularly one that we are most familiar with, 36 states of Nigeria plus FCT. Agricultural production is a major component, and as well as other activities for which infrastructure, for which funding has been generously provided in the budget.
When you look at inflation, a large element is food inflation. In fact, food inflation accounts for 33% of the consumer price index. So when you attack food production, raise food production, you bring down the price of food, you bring down inflation, you get a chance to bring down interest rates, and there lies the road to investment.
Members of the nation's finance and economic team expressing confidence on strategies being taken to address the current challenges in the country. Lawmakers are, however, urging them to urgently come up with clearly visible results. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Earlier, a development analyst, Bola Olojede, shared his thoughts on this.
As far as healthcare is concerned, I was in that sector for about 5 years. And even all the way through my 5 years, one of the things we were always hammering is the fact that medical tourism is taking a chunk of foreign exchange out of this country. So our people, as a culture, we love to consume what we don't produce. So it is not just a matter of the imported food items that we eat or that we love to. I mean, I've heard Nigerians who say they can't eat Nigerian rice. I mean, and that is supposed to be something that they are proud about, you know. So education, we love to consume foreign education. Healthcare, we love to consume foreign healthcare. Food, we love to consume foreign food. Clothing, we love to consume foreign clothing. So if everything we're consuming is foreign, obviously it will have an implication for our exchange rate.
The Nigerian Senate would on Wednesday and Thursday grill the service chiefs over the state of insecurity in the country. This was disclosed by Senator Tokunbo Abiru while announcing the postponement of the interface between the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and other financial institutions from Tuesday to Friday. Abiru, who is the chairman of the committee, said the planned interface with CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso was shifted to Friday since Wednesday and Thursday had been slated for the grilling of the service chiefs. The Senate had, by its resolution last week, summoned the service chiefs to appear before it in plenary for required explanations on the worsening security situation in the country.
Our plan for today was to have a session with the CBN governor, and the essence of the meeting, of course, very obvious to all of us, which has to do with the current economic situation in the country. Now, but somehow the CBN governor has been held back in the House of Reps, also trying, of course, on the part of the House of Reps, they also are trying to also do some sort of consultation with him regarding the situation of the economy as well. So that is how come this has been somehow delayed. And the sense is that perhaps they're just rounding up, and we don't know exactly when they will be done, to be frank. And on our part too, we also believe that we should be rational, and in terms of trying to see reasons with both our brothers in the House of Reps and the sisters in the House of Reps, and of course, the CBN governor. And to that extent, it will appear that on our part, we'll have to adjourn ours, and till Friday, the 8th, the 9th of February. And the reason too, I think I should explain. Tomorrow there is a session with the service chiefs, and of course that might extend to Thursday, because it's also there are issues of very serious concerns to us. So in order to play safe and have enough time to also interact properly with the economic team in this instance, which meaning that we might extend the invitation beyond the governor to also include members of the economic team.
Let's also tell you that Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff has met with stakeholders in the maritime sector, including those in the oil and gas industry, over challenges affecting the nation's petroleum sector. The naval chief, while speaking to those in attendance, said there is a need to increase oil output as it has the ability to solve a myriad of challenges affecting the country. He also said the meeting will help assess challenges affecting operators and review shortcomings in the Navy's operations aimed at tackling maritime crime.
Our economy is an oil-dependent economy, and if we can produce enough oil, then we'll have enough resources to shore up all the gaps we have in the economy. And once we cannot produce enough oil, the problem of unemployment, devaluation of the naira, and all this, what we are seeing today, they are all linked to oil production one way or the other. So this meeting is a strategic engagement for us to be able to assess what we are not doing well, in order to be able to plug those gaps, to be able to provide the enabling environment for the stakeholders in the industry to be able to do their utmost to produce maximally as is required.
Challenges that will come to the table include what we see from our side in terms of pipeline vandalism and the like. This meeting will further help us reinforce all of the good things that we've been able to collaboratively achieve. So I'm looking forward to a time when we'll have candid discussions about the gains and also the opportunities.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, following a protest by students of the Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike, over the eviction of some of them from the examination hall on Tuesday, the Vice-Chancellor, Madubwe Bisi Ofo-Iwe, has shut down academic activities in the university indefinitely. The students were allegedly protesting eviction of some of them from the examination hall over non-payment of school fees. Chinwe Ugele went to the university and reports that the police dispersed some unruly students. Her report.
From the examination halls, those who were yet to pay their school fees were sent out following the university's policy. But the reaction of the students unexpectedly escalated and the whole school erupted in pandemonium. The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Made BBC of Oyo, was almost attacked, but for the security operatives who protected him. They sang round the school, marched to the highway and obstructed traffic. The students did not allow journalists to record anything within the vicinity and did not also speak about the incident. Between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., the club-wielding students destroyed a few property of the university and would not yield to police presence. The university public relations officer, Mr. Patrick Opara, who tried to play down on the seriousness of the protest, confirmed that it was not a new policy.
If that has been the practice in other universities. But I also know that it is normal for a student to pay his or her fees before the examination time. If you have any challenge with paying your school fees, you should be able to notify the school authorities that you're having a challenge. That's why you're not able to pay your school fees.
Part of the students' grouse came from their school fees, which has about 30% increase.
The students were duly informed on time about the changes in fees and the reasons why the fees were increased, if at all the increment is so large that they are feeling it is too high. But I don't think that any of them will claim that they were not aware.
While trying to leave the area, some of the protesters refused that I and some other motorists left and insisted that we parked our vehicles on the highway. Some swooped in on us, but were saved by the gunshots from the policemen, which sent the protesters scampering to safety whilst hitting my car. The students will now go home as the university authority announces the indefinite closure of the school with immediate effect. In Omaha News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Let's also tell you that the abducted Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration of the Abia State University, Professor Godwin Emueze, has regained his freedom after spending 11 days in the kidnappers' den. The Abia State Police Command had confirmed that he was abducted in a filling station in Umuahia, the state capital, over 2 weeks ago. Emueze was said to have been released on Tuesday night by his abductors. A source close to the professor's family told newsmen that the kidnappers had earlier demanded a ransom of 35 million naira. The kidnappers had released footage of how they tortured the professor and threatened to kill him if the family failed to pay 20 million naira before the end of Saturday last week. The source said the professor is currently receiving medical attention in an undisclosed hospital due to torture. The governor of Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, Seyi Makinde, has stated that the bill establishing the Oyo State Electricity Regulatory Commission will be signed into law soon. He noted that attaining energy sufficiency in the state has remained an important objective of his administration. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Federal Government has set up a committee of all stakeholders in the power sector to resolve the challenge of low gas supply to generation companies, which it says is responsible for the current poor power supply in parts of the country. According to the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, in a recent statement, the committee is expected to make recommendations that will address the gas supply and liquidity challenges in the sector. Now joining me on the news is Prince Taiwo Abass, Managing Director, CDR Engineering Consultants. Thank you so much for joining me, Taiwo.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we all know that Nigeria has an abundant gas reserves, and yet it is still unable to meet domestic supply needs for electricity. Instead, it actually flares more gas till date. Or would you say that the flaring has actually stopped?
Not really, but the federal government left that part doing the investment in the generating system. I could remember one of the federal government established a vehicle called Niger Delta Power Holding Companies. This vehicle was established to develop and build power plant. And they left the major part of it, the gas, with the NNPC to kill with the project. But by the time they completed all those major power plants, there was no facility on ground to supply gas to this power plant. So the biggest mistake was that one, they built those power plants based on federal character, because I don't see why they have to build power plant in a place like Geregu in Kogi State, when it can be built in a gas flaring location. And for them to have not put a proper infrastructure, a pipeline from a field to the power plant is uncalled for. Though they have a good concept, but the ideology behind it failed them. And what they have to do now is that they have to develop a vehicle that will invest purely on the infrastructure to move gas from one point to the power plant. That is it. And another thing is that they need a policy that would attract investors to come in and invest on these fields. Most of these fields are just redundant there. We have numerous gas in Nigeria, but those fields are redundant. So they need a policy, an attractive policy for investors to come in.
Well, you did say that, they have a good concept. Talking about concepts, we're actually beginning to see states working to generate and also sell electricity, as seen in Oyo, Lagos, and also some other states. How realistic is this?
Let us start with Lagos State. Lagos State built an independent power station which worked, IPP. This power station is the one supplying general hospitals, local government, Lagos State power sectors. But other states, which they don't have a continuous political party from one time to another, like Oyo State now, there was a particular governor that invested a lot of money on an IPP. The next governor that came after him, that came from different political party, stopped that project. And those power plants were there, doing nothing, redundant. And at the end of the day, nobody knows where they are. So most times there must be a framework, a continuity in independent individual states that want to invest in IPP. Because if there's a change in government, there is no way that the next government want to jump on someone's project and continue. So there must be a legal structure, maybe bound by the Attorney General, in which states can have a continuity in their independent power project. Another thing is the infrastructure. The infrastructure is not there. The Lagos State has to go through CNG technology, in which they have to move the gas through CNG trucks from independent CNG gas producer. So this infrastructure must be there. It's cheaper for them to move this gas via pipeline, though the infrastructure is not there, but CNG is another ways of moving this gas.
Okay, Taiwo, now still talking about infrastructure. From what we know, Nigeria has actually installed electricity generating capacity of about 13,912 megawatts. And also gas power plants are relatively cheaper to operate than fossil fuel alternatives at the moment. Now, can you tell us what are the factors that are inhibiting investments in building fully functional plants to ensure adequate supply of gas for the country that we should actually know about?
This infrastructure is already there. We already have infrastructure that can generate 14,000 megawatts. The only thing that is not there is the infrastructure to move the gas or to invest in the gas. And this thing is purely based on government policy and also bureaucracy within the government. I understood in the past that some people want to invest in the gas sector, but because of the politics within the government sectors, it hindered such a process. And what the government has to do is they have to move back, strategize on how to develop this gas sector. One, they have to give it an independent party to process it, to design the tender for investors to come in and invest, instead of bureaucracy within the regulatory bodies, which is the major part of it. The infrastructure is the major thing. They need to in place those infrastructure, especially the gas pipeline.
Okay, you did talk about, investments to bring in investors, from outside. But what concrete financial instruments or risk mitigation strategies are being offered right now to attract those private investors?
To my knowledge, I don't think there is much policy now to attract investors, apart from a little bit of waivers, one or the other. The major thing that they need to be transparent. If you are transparent and you have adequate people to handle those assets, then investors will come. People has the money, they know what they want, and they know how it works in Nigeria. Unless we are transparent, we open up our assets and we have a good team that runs it, and we stop all those bureaucracy within the regulatory agency, and the government stay off it, so that this vehicle can self-independently run this program.
Okay. Okay, now talking about the capacity now, let's take a look at Nigeria's geographical spread. Are there any other renewable energy sources like solar or wind that are most suitable for different regions? And how can you, expect that their integration will be financed?
That's good. Like the northern part of the nation, which is more sunny, then we can invest in the solar system. But I still believe in natural resources, because this solar system, you have to import them. Then we are going to put more pressure on the dollar. But something that we have already on our soil, let us invest on that. It's a simple technology. It's not rocket science. Let us have a infrastructural emergency team that will invest in the infrastructure of gas pipeline within the Nigerian system. If we can do that, everything works. We can even have a power plant offshore in which the gas is being flared there. The gas is being flared offshore. We can have a platform power plant there, and we transmit the power back to the on-land. So it's simple. I'm not in total support of solar or other renewable energy, because this thing has to put more pressure on our dollar and our forex system. But let us invest on what we have here. All the materials needed for this infrastructure is local, and we can do it ourselves.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and also your opinion on this topic. Prince Taiwo Abass, Managing Director, CDR Engineering Consultants. We appreciate you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, moving away from that, the number of sexual predators on the internet who blackmail victims using their nude photos and other means has been on the rise lately across the world and in Nigeria as well. To address this growing online menace and help protect unsuspecting victims while also helping them seek justice, a media parlay has been organized for journalists in Lagos. The parlay is about how victims can now seek redress. News Central's Bernard Akede has more.
He removed his WhatsApp DP and put one of my nude pictures as his WhatsApp DP on his display picture on WhatsApp. So I saw it and I started crying.
Cases of online gender-based violence have been on the rise in recent times, and more often than not, the victims do not get the desired justice, while perpetrators sometimes get off unpunished. In some cases, victims who have been bullied or blackmailed online have had to quit the internet use entirely, while others have even attempted suicide. While total control of internet may not be easily achieved at the moment, some groups have been able to create platforms where victims can go online, register cases of online sexual harassment or blackmail as it affects them, and get free help ranging from counseling to legal support, amongst others.
We saw that what was happening offline in terms of gender-based violence was having a a manifestation online. There was an online manifestation of what was happening offline. There was a surge during the pandemic, just like there was a surge in physical aspects of gender-based violence. And there was a lot of awareness and response to physical aspects of gender-based violence, but online dimensions are completely ignored. And so we needed to fill that gap. Somebody needed to start talking about why online gender-based violence is a manifestation of real harm, the way in which victims are experiencing the harms, and what can be done to strengthen protection for them.
Nigeria's tech space has recently witnessed astronomical growth, which in turn has caught the attention of several organizations, and many now believe the growth of tech can do more than just benefit the country in financial and economic terms.
We're partnering with Tech Society to ensure that we've seen recently that image-based attack, revenge pornography, things like that have been a deterrent for people coming on board on the internet because they're afraid. Their pornographic images can be used against them, in ways that they may never recover from it. So we are developing this tool in partnership with Tech Society, for example, to ensure that Nigerians who are on the internet space and on this great World Internet Safe Day have access to such tools and can take advantage of it.
The 6th of February every year is set aside as Safer Internet Day, and this group believes that reading Nigeria's cyberspace of sexual predators and apprehending offenders will require the right collaboration, hence the involvement of journalists.
Ground zero for us is a digital world where women and girls, children are safe. They are able to navigate without fear, without harassment. We are reducing digital inequalities. Everyone can participate online, participate in the digital economy, have access to the opportunities that are provided by digital technologies without fear of harassment, and while keeping their dignity and their safety intact.
If the fight against digital abuse is to be taken seriously, the commitment towards building a safer and more inclusive digital world must be seen as the responsibility of all. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, News Central now continues in West Africa, where the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, says it encourages member state Senegal to urgently restore the electoral timetable after this month's presidential election was delayed until December 15. The Economic Community of West African States, in a statement on Tuesday, encouraged the political class to take steps urgently to restore the electoral calendar. The regional body said it was following the unfolding events in Senegal, which has entered uncharted waters in delaying the February 25 vote, with concern. Now, it also called on all parties to shun violence and all other actions that may further disturb the peace and stability of the country. ECOWAS urges the law enforcement agencies to exercise utmost restraint and protect the fundamental rights of all citizens. Senegal's ruling coalition, Benno Bokk Yakaar, has defended the postponement of the presidential election scheduled for February 25, 2024. The group made its position known at a press conference, and the national members of the National Assembly voted on Monday evening to postpone the election until December 15, 2024, described by the opposition as an institutional coup d'etat. According to the chairman of the BBY parliamentary group, Abdumbo, it became clear to them that the conditions for a free, transparent, and inclusive election are not in place.
Arrêter ce processus électoral. Travailler à ce qu'il y ait des élections libres, transparentes, démocratiques et inclusives. C'est travailler à sauver le Sénégal pour les générations futures. Parce qu'on ne devrait pas aller dans une élection où on sortirait avec des contestations à n'en plus finir pour dire qu'on a un président illégitime. Voilà ce qui s'est passé au Sénégal. Voilà ce qui s'est passé à l'Assemblée nationale. C'est pourquoi nous, députés de Benno Bokk Yakaar, nous sommes trop fiers de nous. Il nous est apparu clair que les conditions d'organisation d'une élection libre, transparente et inclusive n'étaient pas réunies. C'est pourquoi nous avons pris la décision d'accompagner une fois de plus cette initiative qui a débouché sur le vote de la loi portant décalage de l'élection présidentielle au 15 décembre 2024.
Meanwhile, we understand that mobile internet access has been restored in Senegal's capital, Dakar, 2 days after authorities cut across as the country grapples with its worst political crisis in decades. Now, to discuss this further, we are joined by Kopep de Bougat, an African affairs analyst. He's currently General Secretary of the West African Civil Society Forum in Abuja, Nigeria. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for joining me on the news.
Good afternoon, Dashin. Thanks for having me.
All right, so I would love for you to share your thoughts on the conditions for the delay as cited by the presidency. Do you challenge the legality of these conditions?
Well, I think I don't need to come in and challenge it. I think it is unconstitutional as it comes, because the Senegalese constitution is there before us, and we will see that the president has no powers to arbitrarily postpone the elections, which is the case here. And following his announcement of postponement of the elections, that was when his own political party now went to parliament to present a vote to support that decision. So for me, this is impunity. This is unconstitutional, and it wasn't be allowed to stand. And I'm glad that in the recent statement of ECOWAS, the ECOWAS authority, it came out very clear. They have asked the president to revert back to the original timetable. And that is a very strong statement for which we are glad ECOWAS was able to make.
Okay, now just before we come back to the ECOWAS, from what we know that the delay actually extends President Sall's tenure, which was set to conclude on April 2nd, until a fresh election is actually held. And some have actually said that President Sall intends to cling to power, as per this postponement. Now, how do you think that the postponement would affect the constitutional rights and duties of the president himself, the candidates, and also the voters?
Indeed, this is a move at tenure elongation, which is really sad for West Africa. I know for some time now, the President Sall has been trying to find ways of getting a legal backing to be able to extend his tenure. For what purpose, we do not know. He tried that in 2015, and the people voted against this proposal. He is trying this again through another means. As a matter of fact, you see how increasingly the Senegalese authorities are becoming repressive and authoritarian in their actions towards the people and towards the opposition. Aside from postponing the election, the Senegalese authorities have also locked down the internet. They have also clamped down on protesters. And as a matter of fact, the police, or should I say the military special forces, have gone into the parliament to actually chase out the parliamentarians that were against the vote that was just concluded to postpone the election till December. This is a 10-month postponement of the elections in Senegal. It is sad to see, because looking at Senegal and even how President Macky Sall came to power, you realize that he rode on the back of a mega protest by civic groups, by citizens groups, and by community leaders across Senegal. And this protest went on for days, for weeks, before his predecessor was pushed to the point of backing down on a similar decision of entrenching his son as the next president of Senegal. So I think President Macky Sall should not repeat the same mistake that his predecessor made. And this time around, I would want to use a metaphor that the broom that swept his predecessor away will be the same broom that may sweep him out of power as well.
All right, I really wish we could actually discuss further on this, but from what we know, just to buttress what you actually said, a broadcasting license of a private television network was revoked. Authorities imposed restrictions on mobile internet access. Many protesters were arrested. Security forces even shot tear gas on some of these protesters. But it's a good thing that, calm is being restored and the internet access is being restored or has been restored. But thank you so much for joining me on the news to speak more on this.
Thank you very much, Darshan.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. We told you that Nigeria's President Tinubu returns from France, orders emergency meeting on food security. We also told you that Zimbabwe's cabinet gives its backing to the abolition of the death penalty from country's laws. And finally, you heard that 18 killed over land rights in South Sudan's Bahr el Ghazal region. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media as well. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.